Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. VR speaking. The objective of this video lesson is to clarify what the slope of a line is, as well as to cover the different types of slope. So, as you guys may recall, the slope of a line simply reserves the simply refers to the proportional relationship between two variables, right? That might sound fancy and all that, but it's really straightforward. So if you think about your grades, let's say you happen to have a test tomorrow. Theoretically, if you study for the test a significant amount of time, your the practice times that you get might reflect on your test scores. In other words, the more hours that you study, the higher your test scores might be. On the other hand, if you don't spend any time preparing for your test, what most likely will happen is that your test scores will not be as high, right? So the relationship between studying hours and your test scores is a positive one. In other words, the more that you study, the higher your grade. So in order to figure out the exact relationship between both variables, what we have to find is we have to find a rate of change between both variables, right? So the rate of change is another way of saying the slope between both variables. So if we think about 2 points on a line, right? We have the y-axis, which always represents the independent variable, right? And we have the x-axis, which always indicates the dependent variable. So in the case of the test scores, the y-axis will represent the actual studying hours, right? No, the test scores. Sorry. So the test scores depend on how much you study, not the other way around, right? So the test scores is dependent, and the number of hours that you study is independent, right? It works on its own. So in this case, we have a positive relationship. So we have 2 points on a line. We have points 2, 1, and we have points 4, 3, as you guys can see here. So in order to figure out the slope of the rate of change between these two variables, or in this line, all we have to do is basically find the slope, which is the change of y2 minus y1, over the change of x, which is x2 minus x1. So the change of y is what? In this case, we're going up from the first point to the second point. So we're going from 2, 1, which is located at 2, right, on the x-axis, to 4, 3, which is located at 4. So we have to go 2 units up, 1, 2, as you guys see here. And from there, we have to go 2 units to the right, 1, 2. So if we want to figure out the slope of this line, the slope will be 2 units up, the rise, 2 units to the right, the run. So it's 2 over 2, which is equivalent to 1. This, these points have a slope of 1, right? So mathematically, the way that we solve this is we have to use the formula m is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So if we think about the y values for each point, we have 2, 1 and 4, 3. 2, 1 and 4, 3, as I'm indicating here. So if you take the y value of the second point, 4, 3, right, y2 would be equals to 3. If we take the y value of the first point, it will be 1, right? So y2 minus y1 would simply be equivalent, as we can see here, 3 minus 1 over the x value, the change in the x values, which in this case is 4 minus 2, right? So over 4 minus 2. So 3 minus 1, the change of y, is equals to 2. 4 minus 4 minus 2, the change of x, is equals to 2. So the slope, as we performed earlier, the rise over the run, it's equivalent to 1, right? So the idea is that to make sure that I emphasize that there are different ways in which you can find the slope, right? Don't get stuck on one method. If you have a difficult time finding how to find the slope mathematically, just perform the rise over the run, right? But don't let the term rise over run confuse you, right? There are different types of slopes. So it's not always the point is not always going to go up. So it's not always going to be a rise, right? For instance, If we have a point like this, we have a positive slope, a negative slope, a slope that's undefined, and a slope that's neutral, right? So if we wanted to find the slope for this line right here, we know that we will have to go take 2 points on the line, we will go up and we will go to the right. That will represent a positive slope, right? On the other hand, if we had this line right here, right? What you will do is you will take 2 points on this line and you will go down and run to the right, right? Which means that the slope will be negative. Now, this line right here doesn't go upward or it doesn't go downward. What does that mean? It simply means that there's no slope. There's no inclination, right? The slope is equal to zero. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. It has a slope of zero. What we've seen here is an undefined slope, right? An undefined slope means that there is no relationship between the variables. So if we're talking about, in this case, we're talking about, let's say, fruits and vegetables, right? There's no relationship between them, right? And in terms of math. So you're looking at two variables that absolutely have no kind of relationship. Therefore, there's no proportionality between them. So we cannot find a slope. So remember, we have a positive slope. It goes from left to right, upward. We have a negative slope. It goes downward from left to right. We have a slope of zero, which means that there's no inclination. It doesn't go upward. It doesn't go downward, and we have a slope that's undefined, which means there's no relationship between the variables. And in order to find the exact slope, all you have to do is pick 2 points on a given line, label each one. The second point will represent x2 and y2. The first set of points will represent x1. The first set of points is x1 and y1. So you use the change of y, which is equivalent to y2 over the change y2 minus y1 over the change of x, which is x2 minus x1. You figure out those points, perform the math. Be careful with your signs, particularly if the line is located, the points are located on quadrant number 3, which are negative values. Be careful with your negatives and perform the necessary operation, and you will always yield the correct slope. Okay. Always to double check, keep in mind the types of slope. If the slope is positive, make sure that your slope, the number represents a positive value. If it's negative, make sure that your slope, the number that you yield, represents a negative number. If it's zero, if a line is straight, it means that the slope is going to be zero. If it's undefined, it will look like a line like this. So always keep these things in mind and make sure that you complete the worksheet that was handed out during class today. All right, thank you very much, guys, and have a safe evening. Bye.